Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something I think we all struggle with sometimes.
Yeah,
Self-doubt.
for sure.
We're going to be looking at this book called Think Confident, Be Confident for Teens. And I'm so excited to have you here to talk about this with me.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
It uses cognitive therapy techniques to help us recognize and overcome those pesky negative thoughts that can just kind of creep in.
It's amazing how powerful our minds are.
Hmm,
It really is. And this book dives into how our thoughts, not necessarily even the situations themselves, can make or break our confidence.
so true. Okay, so let's break this whole self-doubt thing down.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like this heavy weight that just drags me down and makes me question everything I do. Sometimes it even shows up physically, like with a nervous stomach or tense muscles.
Yeah, I feel that.
Do you get that too?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people experience those physical manifestations of self-doubt.
Totally.
And it's interesting because self-doubt often stems from what this book calls give-up thoughts.
Yeah.
They're like these little mental traps we set for ourselves, where we twist information to fit our negative feelings, even if it doesn't reflect reality.
So it's like our brain is playing tricks on us, making us see things worse than they actually are.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And the book points out that our brains are actually wired to do this to some extent.
Really?
Yeah, it's a survival mechanism from way back when, where focusing on potential threats helped us stay safe.
Oh, that's interesting.
But in today's world,
Yeah.
it can lead to a lot of unnecessary anxiety and self-sabotage.
Wow, I never thought about it like that before. So we're basically hardwired for negativity.
Well, to a degree, yeah.
That's kind of a bummer.
But the good news is that we can rewire our brains with a bit of effort and practice.
Okay.
And that's what this book is all about.
I like that.
It's about learning to recognize those give-up thoughts and challenge them with more realistic and empowering perspectives.
So instead of getting stuck in those mental traps, we can actually train our brains to think more confidently.
Absolutely. It's like learning a new skill,
Okay.
like playing an instrument or a sport.
Uh-huh.
The more we practice, the better we get at it.
That makes a lot of sense. But before we jump into the how-tos,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are some examples of those give-up thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like I definitely fall into those traps sometimes.
Oh, we all do. It's super common. Let's say you bomb a test.
Okay.
A give-up thought might be, I'm just not smart enough, I should just give up.
Uh,
Or if your crush doesn't text back, you might think, there's something wrong with me, nobody will ever like me.
Ouch. Yeah. Those are definitely thoughts I've had before.
Yeah.
Especially the crush one.
Uh-huh.
It's like those thoughts just amplify all our insecurities.
Right. And they often stem from stress.
Okay.
The book talks about two types. Genuine stress, which is from actual difficult situations,
Got it.
and artificial stress, which is the kind we create ourselves by setting unrealistic expectations.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. Sometimes I feel like I'm putting so much pressure on myself to be perfect. And then when things don't go exactly as planned, I just spiral.
Right.
Like if I don't get straight A's or if I don't have 1 million followers on social media, I feel like a failure.
That's a perfect example of artificial stress. It's like we're adding fuel to the fire of self-doubt with all those unrealistic expectations.
So it's not just about external pressures, it's also about the pressure we put on ourselves.
Exactly. And the book digs into where the self-doubt comes from in the first place.
Okay.
It turns out that it's a mix of nature and nurture.
Okay, so like some people are just naturally more prone to self-doubt than others.
Well, our genetics can definitely play a role.
Okay.
Our temperament from birth, things like whether we're naturally more shy or outgoing, can influence how we perceive ourselves and the world around us.
I can see that.
But our experiences also shape us.
So things like family dynamics, school experiences, or even just our social circles can impact our confidence levels.
Absolutely. Things like conflict at home, moving to a new school, not making a team, or struggling with schoolwork can all contribute to self-doubt.
Oh, for sure.
But here's a really crucial point.
Okay.
It's not always the event itself, but our interpretation of it that determines our level of self-doubt.
Wait, so two people could go through the same tough experience, but one person might come out of it feeling totally defeated while the other person is totally fine.
Exactly. It's all about how we perceive and process those experiences.
Wow.
Let's say two people don't get invited to the same party.
Okay.
One person might conclude that they're not cool enough, while the other person might assume there was a limited guest list and not take it personally at all.
So it's not the situation itself, but the story we tell ourselves about the situation that matters.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And that's where our values come into play.
Okay.
The book suggests there are two main ways people derive their sense of self-worth: achievement and social connection.
Oh, that's interesting. So some people feel good about themselves when they accomplish things,
Right.
while others prioritize relationships and feeling liked.
Exactly. Achievement-oriented people get a boost when they get good grades, win awards, or excel at something.
Hmm.
For them, setbacks or criticisms in those areas can really trigger self-doubt.
And for the social butterflies, rejection or conflict with friends would be more likely to make them question themselves.
You got it.
Yeah.
Understanding which one you lean towards can help you identify what types of situations are more likely to trigger your self-doubt.
So it's all about understanding what we value most and how that shapes our perceptions of ourselves.
Exactly.
This is getting really fascinating.
Yeah.
But how do we actually shift from self-doubt to confidence? I'm ready for some actionable steps.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Well, the book introduces this awesome concept called go-to thoughts.
Okay.
They're like the confident counterpunches to those negative give-up thoughts we were just talking about.
Okay, so if give-up thoughts are those mental traps, are go-to thoughts, like the keys to escaping those traps.
Exactly. They're based on facts and logic,
Okay.
and they help us see things more clearly and objectively. It's like putting on a pair of glasses that help you see the world in a more positive and realistic light.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking, I'm going to fail this presentation, a go-to thought might be,
I've prepared well, and I'm going to do my best. Even if I'm nervous, I can still deliver a good presentation.
it's like replacing that fear-based thought with a more empowering and realistic one.
You're right.
But how do we actually come up with those go-to thoughts?
Eh.
It's easy to say, think positively, but it's harder to actually do it, especially when those negative thoughts are so loud.
You're absolutely right. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But the book offers a really cool strategy. Treat your thoughts like hypotheses.
Oh, like in science class.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember doing that.
Yeah.
We come up with an idea, then design an experiment to see if it was true.
Right.
But how do we apply that to our thoughts?
Well, let's say your give-up thought is, nobody wants to be my partner for this group project.
Okay.
You would treat that thought like a hypothesis.
Okay.
Then you'd gather evidence for and against it.
So I'd be like a detective looking for clues to see if my thought is actually true.
Exactly. You might ask yourself, have I ever been chosen for a group project before?
Okay.
Do my classmates seem to avoid me?
Ah,
Are there other reasons why someone might not choose me as a partner? Like maybe they already have a group.
that's so smart.
Yeah.
By examining the evidence objectively, I might realize that my initial thought was based on fear, not facts. It's like taking away the power of those negative thoughts.
It's like putting those thoughts on trial, cross-examining them with logic and reason.
Okay, I'm loving this detective analogy.
Ah.
So what other tips does the book have for dealing with those in-the-moment self-doubt spirals? Like, what do I do when I'm about to give a presentation and suddenly feel like I'm going to puke?
The book recommends a technique called thought stopping.
Okay.
It's basically interrupting that negative thought loop as soon as you become aware of it.
So it's like hitting the pause button on those spiraling thoughts before they take over.
Exactly. You can literally say to yourself, stop. Or you can create a visual cue, like picturing a stop sign or snapping your fingers.
Oh, that's good.
The key is to break that chain of negativity.
That's actually really helpful. I'm
Yep.
definitely going to try that. What else can we do to reframe those negative thoughts?
Another powerful technique is to focus on your strengths.
Okay.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we're not good at, but we all have unique talents and abilities.
It's like we have this mental magnifying glass that zooms in on our flaws and ignores all the good stuff.
The book suggests making a list of your strengths,
Okay.
big or small. Anything that makes you feel good about yourself. Maybe you're a great listener, or you're super creative, or you make a mean batch of cookies.
Right.
It doesn't matter as long as it makes you feel good.
I like that.
And by reviewing that list regularly, you start to rewire your brain to see yourself in a more positive and realistic light.
It's like creating a highlight reel of all the awesome stuff we do instead of dwelling on the bloopers.
Exactly.
I love that.
Okay, so what about dealing with those times when we mess up or things don't go our way?
Ugh. Yeah, I hate those times.
How do we handle those setbacks without falling into a self-doubt pit?
It's so easy to just spiral.
The book emphasizes the importance of self-compassion.
No.
We're often our own worst critics, but we wouldn't talk to a friend the way we sometimes talk to ourselves.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I am way harder on myself than I am on anyone else. If a friend messed up a presentation, I'd be super supportive and encouraging. But if I mess up, I'm like, you're such a loser.
We all do it.
Yeah.
But the key is to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to someone you care about.
So it's like being a friend to ourselves offering a pep talk instead of a put down.
Exactly. Acknowledge that you made a mistake.
Okay.
But don't dwell on it. Learn from it and move on.
Okay.
Remember that everyone makes mistakes. It's
Hmm.
part of being human.
I love that. It's so much more freeing to think about it that way.
Mm.
Instead of beating myself up for my mistakes, I can focus on learning and growing from them.
And as we practice self-compassion, we create a more nurturing internal environment where confidence can actually flourish.
It's like we're creating a safe space for ourselves to experiment, make mistakes, and learn without the fear of judgment.
Exactly. And remember, building confidence is not a one-time event.
Hmm.
It's a journey.
Right.
There will be ups and downs,
Right.
days when you feel unstoppable and days when self-doubt creeps back in.
So it's like learning to ride a bike.
Yeah,
You're going to fall a few times, but you just got to get back on and keep practicing.
you got it. And the more you practice these techniques, the more skilled you become at handling those self-doubt moments.
This is all so helpful. But what about those external pressures like social media or the pressure to get into a good college? Those things can really fuel self-doubt, especially for teens.
You're right, those external pressures can be intense. And that's where it's crucial to remember that you have the power to choose what you focus on.
So I can't control what other people post on social media, but I can control how much time I spend on it and how much I let it affect my self-worth.
Exactly. And when it comes to things like college applications, it's important to remember that your worth is not defined by a number or a letter on a piece of paper.
So instead of comparing myself to everyone else, I can focus on doing my best, exploring my interests, and choosing a path that feels right for me.
You nailed it. It's about defining success on your own terms, not based on what society or social media tells you to do.
This is so empowering. I'm realizing that I have a lot more control over my thoughts and feelings than I thought.
And that's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
Building confidence is about recognizing that you have the power to choose your thoughts,
Hmm.
challenge negative self-talk, and focus on your strengths.
It's about being your own cheerleader and believing in your ability to navigate the challenges of life with resilience and grace. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I'm already starting to shift my perspective on self-doubt. But before we wrap up, are there any other practical tips from the book that we can share with our listeners?
Well, there are a few. The book talks about surrounding yourself with positive affirmations,
Okay.
almost like building a support system for your confidence.
I love that idea. It's like having your own personal hype squad cheering you on from the sidelines.
Exactly. It can be as simple as listening to music that makes you feel good,
Hmm.
writing encouraging notes to yourself, or even creating a vision board with images and quotes that inspire you.
So it's about curating your environment to support your confidence journey.
Absolutely. You're much more likely to succeed if you're surrounded by positive influences that uplift and motivate you.
That makes so much sense. It's like if you're trying to eat healthy, you don't keep junk food in the house, right?
Right.
You surround yourself with healthy options that support your goals.
Perfect analogy. And just like with any lifestyle change, building confidence takes time and effort. It's not a quick fix. It's an ongoing process.
And there will be days when it feels easier than others. Like some days I wake up feeling like I can conquer the world, and other days I can barely get out of bed because that self-doubt monster is lurking in the corner.
That's totally normal. We all have those days. The key is to not let those setbacks derail you. Remember the bike analogy?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to fall off sometimes, but you just got to get back on and keep practicing.
And each time you get back on, you get a little bit stronger and more confident. It's like building a mental muscle.
Exactly. And the more you work that muscle, the more resilient you become, and the easier it is to handle those inevitable challenges that life throws your way.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into confidence, what's one small step our listeners can take today to challenge a self-doubting thought and embrace a more confident perspective?
I'd say start by identifying one specific area where you tend to struggle with self-doubt. Maybe it's public speaking,
Okay.
or asking someone out on a date, or even just sharing your ideas in class.
Or maybe it's posting a selfie on social media, or trying out for a team, or applying for a job.
Right. Once you've identified that area, try to come up with one go-to thought, that positive counterpunch
Okay.
that you can use to challenge those negative thoughts.
So instead of thinking, I'm going to make a fool of myself, maybe I can think, I'm brave for putting myself out there.
Exactly.
Or it's okay to be nervous. Everyone feels that way sometimes.
Exactly. And write that go-to thought down somewhere. You'll see it often on a sticky note as your phone background, whatever works for you. The key is to keep it top of mind so you can easily access it when those self-doubting thoughts start to creep in.
It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket, ready to deploy when that negativity monster shows up.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We all struggle with self-doubt from time to time. It's part of being human.
But with awareness, effort, and a little bit of practice, We can learn to cultivate a more confident mindset and create a life that is more fulfilling, joyful, and authentically us.
So go out there, embrace the challenge, believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to shine.
We'll be here cheering you on every step of the way. Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of your own potential.